Parashutta Shimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutta Shimar Bhakti Vedanta Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutta Shimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutta Shimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutta Shimar Bhakti Pragyan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Bhagavat Srila Goraksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Anugauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadash Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Ganga Mataji and Indira Mataji, Raseshwari Mataji. Hari Bol. Alright, so we will continue on. Let me just, I'm sharing my screen now. And maybe while we wait for more people to come, we can read, yeah, we can take a look at the, sorry, my brain's really slow right now. Yeah, maybe we can take a look at the table of contents of the 10th canto. That will be an extra quick summary of what we read the past 2 days. What do I type in? Veda-based IO. There. Okay. So I'm gonna just 1. The Advent of Lord Krishna, Introduction. 2. Prayers by the demigods for Lord Krishna in the womb. 3. The birth of Lord Krishna. 4. The atrocities of King Kamsa. 5. The meeting of Nanda Maharaj and Vasudev. 6. The killing of the demon Putana. 7. The killing of the demon Trinavarta. 8. Lord Krishna shows the universal form within his mouth. 9. Mother Yashoda binds Lord Krishna. 10. The deliverance of the Yamala Arjuna trees. 11. The childhood pastimes of Krishna. 12. The killing of the demon Aghasura. 13. The stealing of the boys and the calves by Brahma. 14. Brahma's prayers to Lord Krishna. 15. The killing of Dhenuka, the ass demon. 16. Krishna chastises the serpent Kaliya. 17. The history of Kaliya. 18. Lord Balaram slays the demon Pralamba. 19. Swallowing the forest fire. 20. The rainy season in autumn in Vrindavan. 21. The gopis glorify the song of Krishna's flute. 22. Krishna steals the garments of the unmarried gopis. 23. The Brahman's wife blessed. 24. Worshipping Govardhan Hill. 25. Lord Krishna lifts Govardhan Hill. 26. Wonderful Krishna. 27. Lord Indra and Mother Suravi offer prayers. 28. Krishna rescues Nanda Maharaj from the abode of Varuna. 29. Krishna and the gopis meet for the Ras dance. 30. The gopis search for Krishna. 31. The gopis' song of separation. 32. The reunion. 33. The Ras dance. 34. Nanda Maharaj saved and Shankachuda slain. 35. The gopis sing of Krishna as he wanders in the forest. 36. The slaying of Arishta, the bull demon. 37. The killing of the demons Keshi and Vyoma. 38. Akrura's arrival in Vrindavan. 39. Akrura's vision. 40. The prayers of Akrura. 41. Krishna and Balaram enter Mathura. 42. The breaking of the sacrificial bow. 43. Krishna kills the elephant Kuvalayapid. 44. The killing of Kamsa. 45. Krishna rescues his teacher's son. That's where we read up to in our summary. So we made it exactly halfway. Okay, there. Haribol, Indira Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Okay, so let's begin. Here. One day, a solacing and soul-stirring visit. One day, Lord Krishna sent his intimate friend Uddhav to go to Vrindavan to console his parents and the gopis. Nanda Maharaj welcomed Uddhav warmly and inquired about the welfare of his sons. Uddhav could witness the unparalleled affection of Nanda and Yashoda as they lovingly remembered Krishna with tear-filled eyes. Uddhav praised their devotion profusely and passed the whole night talking about Krishna. In the morning, the Vrajagopis saw lotus-eyed Uddhav, who resembled Krishna in looks and attire. They brought him to a secluded place and began to remember Krishna's pastimes as they wept in separation. Srimati Radharani, deeply absorbed in Krishna, noticed a bumblebee, a Brahmar. Imagining it to be a messenger of Krishna, she indirectly rebuked Krishna, expressing her supreme love through 10 kinds of impulsive speech. Her song is called the Brahmar Geet. She contrasted her own supposed ill fortune with others' good fortune, while glorifying the names, forms, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna. She then declared that although Krishna may have abandoned the gopis, they could not possibly stop remembering him for even a moment. Uddhav was astonished to see in the gopis the highest degree of pure devotion, and he tried to console them with Krishna's message for them. I left you all just to increase your attraction for me and intensify your remembrance of me. By these intensified feelings, you are sure to regain my association soon. The gopis asked Uddhav, is Krishna happy in the company of his relatives and women of Mathura? Does he still remember us and the rasa dance? Will he again appear before us? We simply cannot stop hoping to attain Krishna, for his footprints throughout the land of Raj remind us of his graceful gait, generous smiles, and gentle talks. The gopis then loudly and piteously said, O Govinda, please come and destroy our suffering. Uddhav pacified the gopis, who worshipped him as non-different from Krishna. Praising the exalted gopis, Uddhav sang, these gopis, this is, anyways, this is not a very, the best summary, but whatever. Praising the exalted gopis, Uddhav sang, these gopis have perfected their lives by their unalloyed love for Krishna. Even the goddess of fortune could not get the same mercy as the gopis obtained during the ras dance. It would be my great fortune to take birth as a creeper or a bush in Vrindavan and receive the dust of the lotus feet of these gopis. Uddhav stayed in Vraj for several months, giving pleasure to the Vrajvasis by reminding them about Krishna in various ways. Thereafter, he returned to Mathura and described to Krishna everything he had experienced in Vraj, fulfilling the promises and desires. One day, Sri Krishna went to the home of Trivakra, as per her earlier invitation, and he fulfilled her desire. Simply by performing one service of offering sandalwood paste to Krishna, Trivakra attains the rare personal association of Krishna. Krishna then went to Akrura's house with Balaram and Uddhav. Akrura honored them and offered heartfelt prayers to Krishna and Balaram. Krishna praised saintly Akrura as purifier of the sinful, and asked him to visit Hastinapur to find out the well-being of the Pandavas, the sons of his paternal aunt Kunti Devi. Akrura went to Hastinapur and stayed there for several months. Vidura and Kunti Devi describes to Akrura how the envious sons of Dhritarashtra had tried to destroy the Pandavas by various evil means, and were contemplating further atrocities. Kunti Devi spoke of her anguish with tearful eyes, chanted his names, expressed her surrender to him, and desired his support and protection for her sons. Akrura reassured Kunti that her sons, born of great demigods, will never be unfortunate, but will soon receive the greatest possible good fortune. Akrura then spoke to Dhritarashtra. The duty of a religious king is to treat all his subjects equally. What to speak of his sons and nephews? By such fair behavior, you will gain fame and fortune. Otherwise, you will attain infamy in this life and hellish existence in the next. Dhritarashtra replied, your lightning-like beneficial statements cannot become fixed within my cloud-like minds. My tight knot of affection for my sons has made me biased toward them by destiny. No one can transgress the arrangements of the Supreme Lord. His purpose for descending into the Yadu dynasty will inevitably be fulfilled. What's that noise? Sorry about that, guys. Understanding Dhritarashtra's partisan mentality, Akrura returns to Mathura and related everything to Krishna. Defeated 17 times. Asti and Prapti, the two queens of Kamsa, went to Magadha, the home of their father, Jarasandha. They informed him of their husband's death. Seeing his daughters as widows, Jarasandha vowed to rid the earth of all the Yadavas. Gathering an immense army, Jarasandha attacked Mathura. Krishna had descended to destroy the burden of the earth. By his will, there appeared two effulgent chariots and the Lord's personal weapons. Krishna and Balaram then took up the weapons, mounted the chariots, and went forth to attack Jarasandha's army. Krishna twanged his bow and rained down a torrent of arrows upon miscreants who supported Jarasandha, and soon annihilated all of them. Balaram arrested Jarasandha, but Krishna knew that Jarasandha would assemble another army and return again to fight, and that would facilitate Krishna's goal of removing the earth's burden. Unknowingly thus, Jarasandha collaborated with Krishna's plan. Consequently, Krishna had Balaram release Jarasandha. As expected, Jarasandha attacked Mathura 17 times, and each time Krishna destroyed his entire army. A fort city within the sea. Just checking the comments. Hare Krishna, Gargaraj ji, and Bhavatarani Mataji, and Nri Hari Prabhu. Hare Krishna. When Jarasandha prepared to attack Mathura for the 18th time, the king of Yavans, named Kalyavan, also tried to attack Mathura with 30 million soldiers. Kalyavan had been searching for a worthy opponent, and Narad Muni told him to fight the Yadavs. Krishna was concerned about the simultaneous attack of two huge armies on the Yadavs. Krishna then constructed a wonderful city called Dwarka within the sea, and moved all the Yadavs there by his mystic power. Then Krishna went out of Mathura unarmed. Seeing Krishna without weapons, Kalyavan put his own weapons aside and ran toward Krishna to fight with him. Krishna ran away from Kalyavan, yet stayed within his vision, barely beyond his grasp at every step. Kalyavan hurled insults at Krishna, calling him a coward for running away from an opponent. Hey, Jai. Eventually, Krishna led Kalyavan toward a mountain cave and entered it. Kalyavan followed Krishna and saw a man lying inside the cave. Thinking that it was Krishna lying there, Kalyavan kicked that man, who had been sleeping for a very long time. Having been awakened so violently, that man looked at Kalyavan angrily, which made him burn to ashes within a moment. Thus, Krishna had Kalyavan killed by his devotee without personally doing it. This powerful person was Muchukunda, a son of King Mandatta. One second. Yeah. He had protected the demigods from the demons for many years. Eventually, the demigods obtained Kartikeya as their protector and allowed Muchukunda to retire, offering him the benediction of uninterrupted sleep, as desired by Muchukunda. After Kalyavan was burnt, Krishna came before Muchukunda, who then offered prayers and asked for perpetual devotion unto him. Krishna granted his desire. Krishna went back to Mathura and destroyed the army of Kalyavan, and then set off for Dwarka. Just then, Jarasandha arrived on the scene with a huge army of 23 Akshohini. It's a battalion, but like a specific number and arrangement. Balaram and Krishna fled from the site. Jarasandha arrived on the scene with a huge army of 23 Akshohini. Then Balaram and Krishna fled from the site, acting as if fearful. Foolish Jarasandha chased them as they reached a mountain named Pravarshan and climbed it. Unable to find them, Jarasandha set fire on all sides of the mountain. Krishna and Balaram jumped off the mountain peak, unseen by Jarasandha's armies. Jarasandha believed that Balaram and Krishna were burnt to death and returned to his kingdom. The two brothers then went to Dwarka. The first love letter and the first queen. Princess Rukmini was the young daughter of Bhishmaka, king of Vidarbha. She had heard of Krishna's beauty and other attractive qualities from sages like Narad Muni, and thus desired him as her husband. Lord Krishna also wanted to marry her. Rukmini's brother Rukmi was envious of Krishna and wanted her to marry Shishupal instead. Rukmini Devi then wrote a letter expressing her love for Krishna and sent it to him through a trustworthy Brahman. The Brahman traveled to Dwarka, and Krishna welcomed and honored him. The Brahman then showed Srimati Rukmini Devi's letter to Krishna that read, O Lord, I am fully attracted to you ever since I have heard about you. Please come and take me away. On the day before my planned marriage with Shishupal, I will visit the temple of Ambika, from where you could come and kidnap me. I shall give up my life if you don't grant this favor. Then perhaps in my next life I will be able to obtain you. Krishna set out for Vidarbha at once on his chariot driven by Daruka. Lord Baladev also gathered his entire army and quickly went to Kundinapur, the capital of Vidarbha. Rukmini was anxious. Not seeing the Brahman or Krishna till the night before the wedding, she cursed her bad fortune. Just then, she felt her left side twitch, which is a good omen for a lady if it's on the left side. And the Brahman came and informed her of Krishna's firm promise to kidnap her. Krishna and Balaram had arrived at Kundinapur, and Bhishmaka received them with reverence and worshipped them with various gifts. The people of Vidarbha felt that Krishna alone would be a suitable husband for Rukmini and prayed for their union. Meanwhile, Rukmini went to the temple of Ambika and prayed to be allowed to have Sri Krishna as her husband. Then she left the temple and walked with deliberate steps until she noticed Krishna. Then, as everyone looked on, Krishna came on his chariot and took the princess with him. The inimical kings, including Jarasandha, pursued Krishna. Seeing the violent attack, Rukmini became fearful, but Krishna encouraged her. Balaram and the Yadavs began to annihilate the opposing army. The enemy kings headed by Jarasandha withdrew their further attempts. Jarasandha consoled Shishupal, who then returned to his kingdom. But Rukmi took a vow that he would not return to Kundina until Krishna had been destroyed and Rukmini rescued. Rukmi then set out with his army and struck Krishna with arrows and demanded that he release Rukmini. Krishna broke Rukmi's weapons to pieces. Then he raised his sword to kill Rukmi, but Rukmini pleaded with him for her brother's life. She pleaded him for her brother's life. Krishna then disfigured Rukmi by shaving off bits of hair here and there. Balaram appeared at the sight and gently reproached Krishna for disfiguring the now family member Rukmi. Balaram then pacified Rukmini. Rukmi constructed a city on that very spot and stayed there, maintaining his angry mood. Lord Krishna took Rukmini to Dwarka and married her. A precious jewel and two pristine queens. Satrajit, a resident of Dwarka, received an auspicious gem called the Samantakamani from the sun god. Every day the gem produced a large quantity of gold, and wherever it was worshipped, no calamity could occur. On an occasion, Krishna told Satrajit that it would be more appropriate for such a gem to be with the king, but greedy Satrajit refused. Shortly thereafter, Satrajit's brother Prasena wore the Samantaka jewel on his neck and went out for hunting. A lion killed him and took the jewel, and Jambavan, the king of bears, killed the lion and gave the jewel to his son to play with. Satrajit presumed that Krishna had killed Prasena for the Samantaka gem and started spreading rumors amongst the people. To clear the blemish on his name, Krishna went out to search for the jewel and eventually found it in Jambavan's cave. Jambavan considered Krishna an ordinary man and began fighting with him. After 28 days of fight, when Krishna's desire to fight was fulfilled by fighting with a pure devotee, Jambavan realized that Krishna was none other than his worshipable Lord Ram. Jambavan offered him prayers, and with great devotion presented the Samantaka jewel to Krishna, along with his daughter Jambavati. Lord Krishna returned to Dwarka with the jewel and his new wife Jambavati. He then gave the jewel to Satyajit, who felt shameful while accepting it. To atone for his offense, Satyajit decided to offer the jewel back to Krishna, along with his daughter Satyabhama. Krishna married Satyabhama, but refused the jewel. After marrying Satyabhama once, Krishna went to Hastinapur, hearing that the Pandavas had supposedly been burned to death in the palace of Lak. Although Krishna was aware that the powerful Pandavas were alive, he just went to Hastinapur with Balaram as a matter of worldly protocol. When Krishna was out of Dwarka, Akrura and Kritavarma incited Shatadhandva to steal the jewel from Satyajit. Sinful Shatadhandva murdered Satyajit in his sleep and stole the jewel. Satyabhama then rushed to Hastinapur to report the sorrowful news of her father's gruesome murder to Shri Krishna, who then returned to Dwarka to kill Shatadhandva. Shatadhandva left the jewel with Akrura and fled for his life. Krishna pursued him and beheaded him with his chakra. Hearing this, Akrura fled to Benares. Eventually, Krishna had Akrura come back to Dwarka, and after making him admit his guilt, he returned it to Akrura. Every time Akrura comes up, he kind of like screws up, doesn't he? 5 more queens. 1 second, just checking the comments. Okay. Once Krishna visited the Pandavas at Indraprastha. He spent time with Kunti Devi, Yudhishthir, and others, and happily stayed as their guest for several months. One day, Krishna and Arjuna went hunting in the forest and saw a charming young maiden named Kalindi, the daughter of the sun god. She desired to attain Lord Vishnu as her husband, and she had been performing austerities. Krishna took Kalindi into his chariot, and later married her at Dwarka. Thereafter, at the request of the Pandavas, Krishna had Vishvakarma, the architect of the demigods, construct an attractive city for them. To please Agni, the fire god, Krishna had Arjuna help him devour the Khandava forest. Agni was very satisfied and presented Arjuna a chariot, Gandiva bow, horses, 2 inexhaustible quivers, and an armor. While the Khandava forest burned, Arjuna saved a demon named Maya from the blaze. Maya Danava reciprocated by building Arjuna a splendid palace. Krishna then went back to Dwarka. Sometime later, Krishna went to Avantipur, where, in the presence of many kings, he abducted the beautiful maiden Mitravinda. This sister of the king of Avanti was very much attracted to Krishna. Later, Krishna went to the kingdom of Ayodhya and won the hand of Nagnajit, also called Satya, the daughter of King Nagnajit, after subduing 7 ferocious bulls by manifesting himself in 7 separate forms. The rival kings, who had been defeated by the bulls, tried to attack Lord Krishna. Arjuna then defeated them, and Krishna proceeded with Nagnajiti to Dwarka. Subsequently, Shri Krishna abandoned Lakshmana, the royal daughter of the king of Madhra, from her Swayamvar ceremony. Later, he also married Bhadra, a princess of the Kaikeya kingdom. More than 16,000 queens. Narakasura, the son of the earth goddess from Lord Varahadev, kidnapped thousands of girls. He had also stolen the demigod Varuna's umbrella, Mother Aditi's earrings, and the playground of demigods known as Mani Parvat. King Indra went to Dwarka and complained about the demon to Krishna. Krishna then went to Narakasura's capital, on the back of Garuda, along with Satyabhama. At the entrance of the city, Krishna beheaded the demon Mura with his disc and killed Mura's 7 sons. Thereafter, Narakasura himself came to fight with the Lord. After a long battle, Krishna cut off Narakasura's head with his chakra. And he did that all while Satyabhama was sitting at his side. Subsequently, the earth goddess Prithvi came to Krishna and offered her prayers. She gave him various items that Narakasura had stolen and presented Naraka's frightened sons at Krishna's lotus feet. Krishna pacified him and made him the king. Krishna then entered Narakasura's palace and found 16,100 young girls. At heart, they had all spontaneously accepted Krishna as their husband, and the Lord sent them to Dwarka. He then went to the heavenly planets with Satyabhama and returned Aditi's earrings. Indra and Shachi Devi welcomed and worshipped him. While there, Satyabhama desired the heavenly Parijata tree, and Krishna uprooted it to take it to Dwarka. Although Indra had just received a favor from Krishna who killed Narakasura, he opposed Krishna's taking of the Parijata tree. Krishna defeated Indra in the fight and took the heavenly tree. Back at Dwarka, Krishna married the 16,100 princesses by manifesting himself in those many forms. One day, Krishna sat at ease in Rukmini's room. Next story. One day, Krishna sat at ease in Rukmini's room and started teasing her, saying that he wasn't a worthy husband for her, and that she could have chosen another qualified king. Tender-hearted Rukmini began to cry, and she fell unconscious. Krishna picked her up from the floor, consoled her, and made her happy again. In this way, Krishna played the part of a householder and remains constantly in the palace of every queen, who thought that she must be his favorite wife. All the queens were entranced by Krishna's beauty and loving conversations, but Krishna's mind was never agitated by their most exquisite feminine attributes. Krishna was attracted only by their loving devotional service. Although each queen had hundreds of maidservants, they would personally render Krishna menial service. Each queen had 10 sons, who in turn each fathered many sons and grandsons. The fight with Lord Shiva. Once, Krishna's son Aniruddha was captivated by the 10,000-headed demon Banasura with his mystic Nagpash. Aniruddha was being faithfully served by Banasura's daughter, Usha, who was very much attracted to him. Hearing this news from Narad Muni, the Yadav warriors, led by Lord Krishna, attacked Banasura's capital. Banasura was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, whom he had pleased by playing musical instruments with his 1,000 hands, while Shiva danced. When Shiva offered Bana a boon, Bana asked Shiva to become the guardian of his city. As the Yadu army began destroying Banasura's soldiers, Shiva was obliged to fight on Bana's behalf and released his Shiva Dwara weapon. It was overwhelmed by Krishna's Vishnu Dwara weapon. Ultimately, Shiva had to pray for Bana's life, and Krishna mercifully spared him with only 4 hands, thus destroying his false pride. Krishna then set off for Dwarka with Aniruddha and his bride Usha. That was such a cool part, the Shiva Dwara and Vishnu Dwara. And anyways, okay, the saga of a lizard. One day, the young Yadu boys, while playing in the forest, saw a huge lizard inside a well. Being unable to lift it up, they all went to Lord Krishna and brought him to the well. The Lord easily lifted the lizard with his left hand. By his touch, the lizard was transformed into a demigod. Upon being asked by Krishna, the demigod explained, I was King Nriga, son of Ikshvaku. I gave charity of countless cows to numerous brahmanas. Once, I gave a cow in charity to a Brahman, unaware that the cow actually belonged to another Brahmana and had wandered into my herd. The two Brahmanas quarreled, and I begged forgiveness and requested them to accept 100,000 cows each in exchange for that one cow. But neither agreed. Later, after my death, I was taken by the Yamadutas to Yamaraj, who asked me which I preferred to do first, suffer the results of my sins or enjoy the results of my pious acts. I decided to suffer my sinful reactions first, and thus I assumed the body of a lizard. Nriga then offered prayers to Krishna and went to the heavenly planets in a celestial airplane. Krishna then instructed everyone on the dangers of stealing a Brahman's property. Lord Balaram's unique pastimes. Oops. Hari Bol, Prajumna Prabhu, and Mantramurti Mataji. Okay, so Lord Balaram's unique pastimes. Once Balaram went to Vrindavan to meet Nanda, Yashoda, and the other Rajavasis. He reciprocated their love and affection, and he pacified the anguish of the gopis who were overwhelmed by feelings of separation from Krishna. He thus stayed for 2 months. One day, Lord Balaram enjoyed pastimes in the forest with the gopis and called out to the Yamuna river for sporting in her waters. But Yamuna ignored his commands. Balaram then started to pull Yamuna with his plow, splitting her into hundreds of rivulets. Trembling, the goddess Yamuna appeared and fell at his feet, praying for forgiveness. The Lord then entered her waters with his girlfriends and sported for some time. Dravida, an ape, was the friend of Narakasura, whom Krishna had killed earlier. Desiring to avenge his friend's death, Dravida inflicted many atrocities by setting fire to the homes of the cowherds, and he flooded coastal lands by churning the ocean's water, tearing down trees in the sages' ashrams, passing stool and urine on their sacrificial fires, imprisoning people in mountain caves, and polluting respectable women. One time, Dravida came to Raivataka mountain, where he found Lord Baladev in the company of some women. Dravida displayed his anus to the women, insulted them by making crude gestures and passing stool and urine. His outrageous behavior angered Baladev, who then fought him. After a very elaborate fight, Balaram struck Dravida, who then vomited blood and fell down dead. Samba was the son of Krishna and Jambavati. As it is common for Kshatriyas, Samba kidnapped Duryodhana's daughter Lakshmana from her Swayamvar. 6 warriors of the Kauravas together arrested him at Hastinapur. Hearing of Samba's capture, Lord Balaram went to Hastinapur, where the Kauravas honored him with due respect, but later became angry when he conveyed Ugrasena's demand to release Samba. They said, "The Yadavas have obtained their royal thrones from us, the Kauravas, but now they are presuming themselves our equals and giving us orders?" Considering them maddened by false prestige, Lord Baladev decided to deal with them through brute punishment. He took his plow and began dragging Hastinapur toward the Ganges. Seeing their city in imminent danger of falling into the river, the terrified Kauravas quickly brought Samba and Lakshmana before Lord Balaram and began to glorify him, seeking forgiveness. Baladev then returned to Dwarka with Samba and Lakshmana. The real Vasudev. While Lord Balaram was in Vraj, a king named Pondraka challenged Krishna. Encouraged by his foolish associates, he announced himself to be the real Vasudeva, the Supreme Lord, and he sent a message to Krishna to give up his false claim and divine symbols. Krishna later went to Kashi and annihilated the armies of Pondraka and his supporter Kashiraj and beheaded them with his chakra. Because Pondraka had constantly meditated on the Supreme Lord, even dressing like him, he attains liberation. To avenge Kashiraj's death, his son named Sudakshina, with black magic rituals, produced a fearsome demon with a body of flames. He at once set off for Dwarka, carrying a fiery trident. Krishna released Sudarshan Chakra that overpowered the demon, who then returned to Kashi and burnt Sudakshina and his city to ashes. The Lord's unique household life. Once, Narad Muni wanted to see Lord Krishna's diverse activities in his unique family situation with more than 16,000 queens in Dwarka. Thus arriving in Dwarka, Narad entered different palaces. He saw Krishna engaging in various activities like receiving guests, playing dice, caressing infant children, performing fire sacrifices, feeding brahmanas, chanting Gayatri Mantra, sleeping, consulting with ministers, playing in the water, and so on. Having seen all this, Narad offered prayers to Krishna. The performer of superhuman deeds. Krishna then honored the sage properly, and Narad departed, continuously meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. God's eagerness to glorify his devotees. Once a messenger came and informed Krishna that Jarasandha had captured 20,000 kings who were surrendered devotees of Krishna. Just then, Narad Muni came and informed Krishna that King Yudhishthira was seeking Krishna's permission and presence for performing the Rajasuya sacrifice. Omniscient Krishna asked Uddhav to determine which of the two matters should be attended to first. Knowing the heart of Krishna, Uddhav advised Krishna to go to King Yudhishthira, whose Rajasuya sacrifice would fulfill both purposes eventually. Lord Krishna went to Indraprastha with his queens. To perform the Rajasuya sacrifice, Yudhishthira had sent his brothers to conquer various directions, who then brought back abundant wealth after defeating many kings except but not Jarasandha. Thereafter, as per Lord Krishna's plan, Bhima, Arjuna, and Krishna disguised themselves as Brahmins and went to the palace of Jarasandha, who was very devoted to the Brahminical class. They flattered him and requested him to grant their desire. Although Jarasandha detected them as warriors, still he agreed. Then Krishna discarded his disguise and asked Jarasandha to fight him in one-to-one combat. But Jarasandha refused, saying that Krishna was a coward who had once fled the battlefield. And he considered Arjuna inferior in age and size. But he considered Bhima a worthy opponent. Thus, Jarasandha and Bhima began to fight. As both of them were equally strong, neither could gain victory. Krishna then indicated to Bhima how to kill Jarasandha by splitting a small tree branch in half. Bhima then stepped on one of Jarasandha's legs and caught the other with his arms and tore him apart into 2 pieces. After Jarasandha's death, Krishna appointed his son as the ruler of Magadha and released the 20,800 kings he had imprisoned. One second. That was the Mayapur Charnamrita delivery service. And Giriraj. Okay. Sorry, let me reread what I just. Um, okay, so after Jarasandha's death, Krishna appointed his son as the ruler of Magadha and released the 20,800 kings he had imprisoned. The kings offered their heartfelt prayers and begged for perpetual remembrance of his lotus feet. The Lord granted their desire and assured that they will attain him at the end of their lives. Krishna then sent them to their respective kingdoms after offering gifts. Krishna, Bhima, and Arjuna then departed for Indraprastha. King Yudhishthira then happily commenced the Rajasuriya sacrifice conducted by exalted priests including Bharadwaj, Gautama, and Vasishtha, and attended by many exalted guests of all the four social orders. Upon the advice of Sahadev and the heartfelt approval of all the exalted attendees, Yudhishthira decided to offer the honor of first worship, the Agra Puja, to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Yudhishthira washed Krishna's feet and sprinkled the wash water on everyone's head. Unable to tolerate this glorification of Krishna, envious Shishupal rebuked the wise elders for choosing Krishna and blasphemed Krishna in many ways. Krishna remained silent, but some people covered their ears, some departed from the hall, and the Pandavas prepared themselves to kill Shishupal. Krishna stopped the Pandavas, and he himself beheaded Shishupal with his Sudarshan disc. Shishupal also attains liberation by constant meditation on Krishna, although out of enmity. Yudhishthira's royal palace, constructed by Mayadanava, was endowed with many astounding features. Seeing Yudhishthira's prosperity and opulence, Duryodhan became extremely envious. One day, Yudhishthira was sitting with Krishna in his royal assembly hall, attended by his subordinates and family members, manifesting magnificence equal to that of Indra. At that time, Duryodhan entered the hall in a fitful mood. In one place, he fell into the water, mistaking it for solid floor. Seeing this, Bhima and some ladies began to laugh. Duryodhan became extremely embarrassed and left the assembly hall in a fury and immediately departed for Hastinapur. A band of demons at Dwarka and Mathura. One second. Hare Krishna, Mitra Vinda Didi. A band of demons at Dwarka and Mathura. When Krishna was in Indraprastha, a demon named Shalva, who was a friend of Shishupal, attacked Dwarka. The Yadavas had also defeated him during Krishna's kidnapping of Rukmini. Having vowed to rid the earth of all the Yadavas, he worshipped Lord Shiva and obtained a flying iron city named Sobha that could go anywhere. Shalva came in his airplane and bombarded Dwarka with boulders and other missiles and produced a whirlwind. The Yadu heroes, including Pradyumna, Satyaki, and others, battled with Shalva's forces for 27 days and nights. When Lord Krishna returned to Dwarka, he at once came to the battlefield on his chariot, driven by Daruka. Seeing the Lord, Shalva threw his spear at Krishna's charioteer, but the Lord shattered it to pieces and pierced Shalva on it and his Sobha vehicle with numerous arrows. Shalva shot an arrow that struck Krishna's left arm, and the Lord dropped his Sharanga bow. Shalva took this opportunity to insult Krishna. Krishna then struck Shalva with his club, but the demon disappeared. Then a messenger came to Krishna with the news from Mother Devaki that Vasudeva had been kidnapped by Shalva. Hearing this, Krishna apparently lamented like an ordinary man. Shalva then appeared in his plane and beheaded a person who looked just like Vasudeva. But taking the opportunity, omniscient Krishna pierced him with a shower of arrows and demolished his Sobha vehicle. Finally, he beheaded Shalva with his Sudarshan disc. Shalva's friend Dantavakra then attacked Mathura to avenge his friend's death. Krishna went to Mathura to fight Dantavakra, who then insulted Krishna with harsh words and weapons. Without bulging in the slightest, Krishna hit Dantavakra's chest, causing his death. Dantavakra's brother, Vidurata, then confronted Krishna. Dantavakra's brother Vidurata then confronted Shri Krishna, but was beheaded by his Sudarshan disc. Thereafter, Krishna visited Vrindavan for 2 months, and finally returned to Dwarka. Okay, so we'll read this section and then stop for today. An eventful pilgrimage. The disputes between the Pandavas and the Kauravas eventually led them to the Kurukshetra war. Lord Balaram chose to remain neutral and went on a pilgrimage. He bathed in several sacred places and eventually came to a holy forest called Naimisharanya, where great sages were performing a sacrifice. Balaram noticed Romaharshan Sura sitting on an elevated seat addressing the sages, but he had failed to stand up when Balaram arrived. This breach of etiquette angered Lord Balaram, who then killed Romaharshan simply by touching him with the tip of a blade of kushagrass. Although Balaram was above all Vedic injunctions, the assembled sages requested him to perform some atonement for killing a Brahman, to set a perfect example for the general populace. Baladev then granted the prestigious seat of Speaker of the Puranas to Romaharshan Suta's son, Ugrashrava, in accordance with the sage's desires. He also blessed Ugrashrava with a long life. Lord Baladev also killed a demon named Balavala, who had been polluting the sacrificial arena of the sages. Finally, on the sage's advice, Balaram went on a year-long pilgrimage of various holy places in India. He eventually went to Kurukshetra at the end of the war, when Bhima and Duryodhan met for a duel combat. Balaram tried to dissuade them from fighting, an arrangement of fate. Baladev then returned to Dwarka. Some time later, Balaram again went to the Naimisharanya forest, where the sages performed fire sacrifices on his behalf. Lord Baladev gave transcendental knowledge to the sages and revealed his eternal identity to them. Oh, there's still some time. Let's read about Sudama. Friendship of the poorest with the richest. Lord Krishna had a Brahmin friend named Sudama, with whom he had lived at the home of his guru Sandipani Muni. Sudama was poverty-stricken and maintained his family with whatever came of its own accord. One day, Sudama's wife asked him to visit his friend Krishna in Dwarka and beg for some charity. Sorry. Sudama was reluctant, but finally agreed. Sudama was reluctant, but he finally agreed when his wife persisted. Sudama's wife begged for a few handfuls of flattened rice as a gift for Krishna, and she sent that as an offering with Sudama. When Sudama arrived at Dwarka and approached the palace of Rukmini, Krishna joyfully received him and embraced him with great joy. Krishna made Sudama sit on his own bed, washed his feet, and sprinkled the wash water on his head as a gesture of respect. He worshipped him with incense, lamps, and so on, and gave him many gifts, while Rukmini fanned Sudama, giving him complete honor of a Brahman. All of this astonished the residents of the palace. Krishna and Sudama recalled their activities in the Gurukul, particularly the incident of their being lost in a storm in the forest when they went to collect firewood. At that time, Krishna and Sudama held each other's hands and focused on their service to Guru. Thereafter, Krishna eagerly asked Sudama if he had brought any gift for him. Poor Sudama was ashamed to offer his gift of begged flat rice. Omniscient Krishna knew the reason for Sudama's visit. He grabbed the bundle of uncooked flat rice that Sudama was hiding and ate a handful of it with great pleasure. When he was about to eat another morsel, Rukmini lovingly stopped him. Sudama spent that night comfortably in Krishna's palace and set off for home the next morning without asking any favor of Krishna. On his way back home, he thought of his good fortune of being so honored by Krishna. When Sudama arrived at his home, he found an opulent palace. In the palace of his broken down, he found an opulent palace in the place of his broken down house. His wife, adorned with celestial jewelry, came out of the palace and lovingly welcomed him. Sudama understood that it was Lord Krishna's mercy. Sudama understood that it was Lord Krishna's mercy and entered his new home. Although living amidst lavish comforts, Sudama maintained his mood of detachment and constantly chanted the glories of Lord Krishna, and eventually entered the spiritual world. Okay, so now we end at this really important part when all the Rajavasis assemble at Kurukshetra during the solar eclipse. Okay, so we'll read from that until the very end tomorrow. I like it how every day we've been ending on it like one of the most important parts. At a good section without any planning. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Oh, Mitra Vrinda Didi, you're in the hospital right now? Yeah, so please let me know what happened. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Gurudev ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Shila Gorkisharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Dashagunath, Shar Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Nam Acharya Shila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishtapadata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Grantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shrimad Bhagavati Dasham Skanda ki jai. Shri Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyashcha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. Oh, Haribo and Dira Mataji. Okay. You're supposed to be operated on last Friday. Oops. You're supposed to be operated on last Friday, but your blood pressure shot up. And now you're rescheduled for a right eye operation this Friday again. Wow. Okay, well, all the best to your operations. And yeah, it sounds intense. Alright. Haribo Andira Mataji. And Dandavat pranams to everybody else watching. I'll see you all tomorrow for our last reading of the 10th canto. Yeah, we'll finish up the rest of the summary of the 10th canto. And then I don't know, you guys can also let me know tomorrow, but I'm wondering if I should read a summary of the 11th canto. It probably would only take like a day or two. And then we kind of have an idea of the whole 11th canto before we start reading it, so that when we are reading it, we know what's coming next. Yeah, let me know if you would like that. And Mitra Vindadidi, yes, we will definitely pray for you. Hare Krishna. Yes. Yeah. And Balaram Chandranath. Hare Krishna. Alright. Sorry I'm a little bit strange right now because my brain's really slow and I'm just like, but yeah. Yeah, praying for a successful, smooth operation, Mitra Vindadidi. Yeah, my question, because I'm going to read the entire 11th canto, I'm going to start that soon. But I'm wondering if I should read the summary from Bhāgavata-pravāha first before I start reading the 11th canto with Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Sarata Darshini commentary. Might be nice to just have a quick overview of the whole book, then read it, and then, yeah, that's what I was thinking. All right, Dandavat pranams everybody. See you tomorrow.